And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this morning, Mr. Pierre Lassonde. He grew up in Quebec and received an engineering degree from Polytechnique Montreal. He received an MBA from the University of Utah in 1973 and started his career as a mining entrepreneur in 1982 when he founded the gold mining company Franco-Nevada. Mr. Lassonde pioneered new methods for investing in precious metals, and he grew that into the multi-billion-dollar company it is today. He's amassed a long list of accomplishment. He literally wrote the book on gold investing when he published, surprise, the Gold Book in 1990. He has started numerous mining and tech companies and serves on the board of several companies. He's received honorary doctorates from our own University of Utah and 3 other universities. He remains active in Franco-Nevada as the chairman of the board while also being a preeminent philanthropist in the arts and education. He was inducted into the Canadian Mining Hall of Fame in 2012, became a member of the Order of Canada in 2012, and chairs the Canadian Council for the Arts. In fact, following his keynote speech this morning, he has to quickly fly back to Montreal, where he will add another recognition to this list as he's honored by the Grand Academy of Quebec with a prestigious award which recognizes the exceptional merit of citizens who've been brilliant examples in the cultural, economic, and social health of Quebec. Utah is indeed blessed to have Mr. Lassonde as an adopted son. In recognition of the time he and his wife, Claudette McKay Lassonde, spent at the University of Utah, Mr. Lassonde made his first gift toward an entrepreneur program with the formation of the Pierre and Claudette McKay New Venture Development Center in 2001. Since then, with the generous support of Mr. Lassonde and his family, the program has grown dramatically, and both undergraduate and graduate programs are ranked in the top 25 by Princeton Review. In 2014, Mr. Lassonde made an additional donation to the University of Utah, bringing his total support to $25 million to create the Lassonde Studios. The Lassonde Studios is a truly unique building combining 20,000 square feet of makerspace and startup company launch space with a 400-bed residential community for University of Utah students where they can live and create and launch the next generation of companies and careers. Last night during a reception hosted by Mr. Lassonde and the university, we were pleased to get an early look at the magnificent building that will be opening to students very soon. Without further delay, let me recognize and welcome Mr. Pierre Lassonde to the stage.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm just going to stick this here. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Governor Herbert, for inviting me here this morning to speak to you. It's a real privilege for me to be here. You know, I was thinking back 45 years ago, this little kid, 23 years old, from Quebec, and his wife, who was very pregnant in last year of engineering, because we married in the 4th year of engineering, we were thinking, and unilingual French, by the way, we were thinking, we got to go west. West is the place to go. And my dear wife was a certified genius. She always outdid everybody in school, finished first and everything. And she wanted to really go to top schools for a nuclear engineer, a master and a PhD in nuclear engineering. And so she applied to Stanford and Berkeley and Caltech. And I told her, I said, well, you know, I know we have big dreams, but my reality may not match your dream. Because out of a class of 305, I finished 300. So I said, we better have another university just in case. And it so happened that the University of Utah had a nuclear reactor and that she could work on, which was sort of her dream. So we said, well, we'll put it in just in case. Then we went and took our GMAT, and as you can see, my reality is, my GMAT was, I think, 536. I mean, today you wouldn't even qualify for high school with that GMAT. And so how we ended up at the University of Utah, I only surmise that the university wanted my wife so badly that I was the price of admission. Which is fine with me, but because to this day when they ask me, why I went to the University of Utah, I tell them, well, because I wanted to graduate in advanced powder skiing. And that works as a charm, okay, every time. At least they can believe that. But, it's not the end of the story, because once we actually got our acceptance, so we took all our possession, and we almost never made it here. We took all our possession, and I had just bought a little TR6, a Triumph TR6. I don't know if you remember those cars, but they're the size of, today, like a trolley at Walmart. And we had everything we own in that car. And we started driving from Montreal through Ontario, and then through Illinois, and then, through Nebraska. And at one point in Nebraska, we stopped to get some gas. And my dear wife got out of the car, and we had put everything in her purse. We had put all the money we owned in the world. We had put our wedding ring because it was summer, it was hot. We had put our passport, everything. And she got out of the car, and she put her purse on top of the car, took the money, and we paid for gas. We got in the car, and we left. And 2 hours later, we had to stop at, a rest stop, and we realized the enormous mistake that had been made. She'd left the purse on top of the car. And she started sobbing uncontrollably, okay? And we went to a police station, and they called the police station way back to where we were. And the trooper said, well, someone did find something, but you have to go all the way back. So got in the car, we drove all the way back, and went to the police station, the local police station. And this big Nebraska state trooper came out, and he said, one of my trooper was, on the on-ramp, and he saw stuff all over the place, and he got out, and he tried his best to put it all. He said, here it is. And you know what? Everything was in the purse except a broken mirror. Everything. There was not one missing item. And if there was a sign about what we should be doing, this was it. We had to be here. We had to come to Utah. So we did. And we had, 2 incredible years. And the education that we received here really set us up for the future. My wife, who unfortunately passed away too young, ended up earning 7 honorary doctorates for the work that she did, all because of the education that we received here. And then for myself, I started to work for Bechtel in San Francisco, and because I wanted to be in the construction business. That really is what I really wanted to do. But the first, and again, she got hired by Bechtel, and they figured, well, we better hire him too. So she dragged me along. You see, one of the good things that I've done in life, I've always married up, okay? And so it worked out for me really well. I got into in Bechtel into mining and metals division in their construction department. So they put me on construction job, and the very first job they put me on was building a mine in Arizona. And I met the geologist there, and we talked, and I started to buy junior mining stocks, and this was fatal. Because the very first stock that I bought, I made about 10 times my money in a space of 3 months. And I thought I was God's gift to finance. Okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. When you get bitten by something, this was it. And so I stayed in the mining business, and several years later, I met the individual became my business partner, and he and I used to go skiing together and to Nevada because we just loved the environment over there. And but we were paying the trips out of our own pocket. So we said, well, why don't we create a junior company? At least we can deduct the trips against our taxes, you know? And so we raised $2 million. We did everything backward. We raised $2 million, and we said, well, what are we going to do with the money? You know? So we did a few drilling projects and whatnot, and this was a loser proposition. So it's like, this is not a business plan. This is not, you know, the way to go. And he came from the oil and gas business, and you know, rhetorically he asked the question, are there any mining royalties? And I said, well, I'd heard some, but I, you know, never heard of any companies making sort of like a business out of it. But we said, like, let's try. So I told our single geologist, who was in Reno on contract, I said, like, if you see any royalty, please, you know, let me know. And then 3 months later, he was in his office on a Friday morning reading the Reno Gazette and sipping coffee. And on page 3, there's a box ad, royalty for sale, with a phone number in Houston. So he calls up and takes the details, and then he calls me back. He said, Pierre, I think I found your first royalty. I said, great, give me the details. So he starts to give me the details, the whole bit. And it so happened that I had just completed a study where were the lowest finding costs to find an ounce of gold in the world. Because I figured if we're going to be in that business, I want to be where it's the cheapest place to find an ounce of gold. I want to put the maximum amount of, you know, chance on my side. And that place was the Carlin Trend of Nevada. And this royalty was smack dab in the middle of the Carlin Trend. So I told my geo, I said, call him up, tell him to meet me in Salt Lake City Monday morning. So during the weekend, I did all my work, and 9 a.m. Monday morning, I meet with the guy. Now, this is a very interesting story. During the weekend, my partner and I had decided that, you know, that royalty was worth $1 million. And so I sit down with him, we start negotiating, $500,000, no. $750,000, no. $1 million cash, no. Well, our stock was public at the time. It was trading for around 65 cents, but it was worth maybe 30. So I figured, you know, I'll offer him 2 million shares. No. $1 million, 1 million shares, no. It took me 2 hours to really get to the point where I understood that he had a $2 million bank loan. The bank had called a loan, and he had 90 days to come up with the money, or he was broke. They were going to put him in bankruptcy. So then my choice was really, either I pay him $2 million, and I can buy the royalty, or I let it go into bankruptcy, and then I try to buy out of bankruptcy later on. So here I was thinking in his office. I was there like, okay, Lassonde, 5 to 10 years down the road, the price you pay today will be wrong. You know that for a fact because you don't know what the gold price is going to be. You don't know what they're going to find. So for sure, the price you're going to pay today is going to be wrong. The question, are you going to be wrong on the upside or are you going to be wrong on the downside? That is what was going on in my mind at the time. And from the work that I had done, I knew that at the very minimum, I was going to get my money back, which was my number one principle. Always, always get your money back. Okay. The upside, I was in the right place. I was in the Carlin Trend, right in the smack middle of it. And so I figured, you know what? I think that is probably the right gamble. So I said to the guy, I said, you got a deal, but I got to call my partner. So I called my partner and I said, partner, I got good news and I got bad news. He said, all right, Lassonde, give me the good news. I said, good news is that we've bought our first royalty and I think we're going to make 5 times our money. I was being a little optimistic here, I tell you. But I really wanted him to, go for it. He said, okay. He said, what's the bad news? I said, we got no more money. This was the entire amount of money we had in the treasury. We had $2,050,000. Man, I had to put the phone up here, okay? Lassonde, are you crazy? And he went on and on and on. And at the end, I said, look, it has to be two or nothing. He said, fine. I hung up. So the story could end there, but it didn't. Somehow, one of my principles is carpe diem, okay? Seize the day. Don't let opportunities walk away from you. So we had shaken hands, but our lawyers were 2 floors below. So I said to the guy, why don't we go down, we'll dictate the terms to our lawyer, you and I go to lunch, we come back, we sign the papers, then it's all done, complete, finish. Okay. So we do that, come back, sign the paper, nice meeting you, transaction done. He goes back to his office, the seller, and on the step of his office is the operator of the property with his checkbook waiting to buy the royalty. If I had not been there that morning, if I had not been there that day, sign a deal, that royalty would never have been the beginning of Franco-Nevada. And let me tell you the end of the story now. That $2 million royalty that we purchased then has, to this day, cash flow to Franco-Nevada $1 billion. $1 billion. And at the time, I did not understand the power of optionality. But boy, we ended up building a business that was built on the power of optionality. So from 1983, when we came out public, to 2001, when we sold the company to Newmont, we returned 36% per year compounded to our shareholders for 19 years in a row. And then we sold the company to Newmont, became president of Newmont. And in 2008, the new president, I left in 2007, the new president decided he didn't like the royalty anymore business, so we bought it back. I raised my hand. I said, you know what? I think it's a pretty good business model. In fact, it's the best business model on the planet, because few people understand the power of optionality. So I said, I'll buy it back. So what we sold for 3.2, we bought it back for 1.2 billion, and today it's worth $10 billion. It's done okay. It's done okay. The business model is absolutely, we have revenues of over 600 million with 20 employees. So it's 600 million, overhead 15 million, pre-tax profit. What other business do you have like that? It's an unbelievable business. And it's all built out of cash flow because it's all pure free cash flow. So that's a story in a nutshell of Franco-Nevada. There's lots and lots of other things that I could tell you, but it took me a good 10 years to understand how powerful our business model was and how we really wanted to build a business. So now we'll talk a little bit about, when came time to give back. My wife and I at the time decided that, one of the places that we really, really wanted to give back was the University of Utah, because it all started here for us. It really is. It really did. And so we were thinking, what can we do at the University of Utah that is different? Now, the dean of business at the time wanted me to give to business, and the dean of engineering wanted my wife to give to engineering, just like the old ways. And we said, no, that's not what we want. We really want something where the students are going to learn, something coming out of the university. It's about the student. It's not about you, the professor. It's not about the university. We had a tremendous student experience here. We want to give the same thing that we had to the students of today. So we said what we want is sort of like a cooperative program, an entrepreneurship program between business and engineering and maybe some of the other schools. But if you don't mind, that's what we want. And I remember they was like, well, you know, the universities are made up of great big concrete silos. It's very hard to break them. And the dean at the time was really not in favor of it. But you know what? I found something over the years that money speaks very loudly. So at the end, it was like, okay, let's try. And the dean says, well, you know, that's going to be $10 million. I said, no, you don't understand. One of my principles is when you don't know what you're doing, do it small and do it short term. So I said, I'll give you $50,000 and show me what you can do in the first year. So first year, not much happened. So at the end of the first year, we got together and said, look, I'm going to be encouraging. I'll give you 75. Go see what you can do. Second year went by, really, really hard. So third year, I said, look, I'm going to be a real sport. I'll give you 100, but I want to start to see result. And by that time, we had a director of the program who we paid $0. And we started to get traction. It was interesting how, you know, the researchers, they prefer to have 100% of nothing than 10% of something. They were really afraid to let go of their intellectual properties. And it took one professor, Glenn Presswitt, to, you know, come forward and say, yeah, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to show the example. I'm going to show you that it can be done. And after that, it started to grow. And by the 6th year, then I put in my first $10 million. And I can't tell you how proud I am. This is one of the absolute best thing I've ever done in philanthropy. If you look at the chart, if you look at the result of the chart, and you start to look at the results starting in 2005, and then going into 2006, 2007, we have multiplied by a factor of 5 to 6 times the efficiency of the commercialization at the University of Utah. We have done something that very, very few universities have been able to do with the kind of money that we put there. I mean, we didn't throw 200 million or 500 millions like some other university. We did it with the students. We did it for the students. The students were the ones who, you know, did the business plan, prepared everything. And so when they come out of here, they have an experience like no other. And that was also one of our goals. So from there, and I just want to make sure that I'm kind of following my speech a little bit here. But, you know, another point out of this is that it's all about people. When you're in business, it really is about people. Put the right people on your bus and you're going to go very far. And if you have the wrong people, you're going to end up, you know, in places where you don't want to be. And I think that, you know, having Troy D'Ambrosio join us as director, Troy made a huge difference. But also having the dean, and, you know, today Taylor Randall is the dean of business, and having the university president, you know, President Young previously, and now President Pershing, their support for the program has been absolutely necessary. But what we're doing today is really trying to, if you want, you know, take the entrepreneur virus, and we really want to infect the whole of the university. And the way we are going to do that now is through the Lassonde Studios. Now, I know that Natalie talked a little bit about it earlier. The Lassonde Studios are going to be 400 beds in over a 20,000 square foot garage that will have everything an entrepreneur to be would want to have. You know, the shops, the computer, the, you know, visual, absolutely everything. So the kids who are going to be there will, you know, live and breathe entrepreneurship. And what we're trying to do with the studios is have students coming from all 40 faculties from the campus. We really want to be able to, and the studios, President Pershing gave us one of the best pieces of land on the campus. Thank you so much. It's right in the middle, and it's going to have the best coffee shop, and it's going to be open all the time. All right, this is, unbelievable, okay? And the kids, one kid from art will be coming in with 10 of his friends or 10 of her friends. And we also want more women, because we can't develop an economy with only 50% of the brains. We need 100% of the brains, okay? So I've told Troy and Taylor, our goal is 50-50. Our goal is we want those studios to be, lived and breathed and by 50-50. And we're going to start at about 30, 35, but the goal is clearly 50-50. And the best way to do that is show an example. Show an example. Bring the women in, and then the women will bring their friends, and we will get there. So the studios are going to be the next stage that will bring entrepreneurship at the University of Utah. We hope to infect the entire university. But when you think about it, the university is only a little part of the ecosystem that is in the valley, that is in the city, but the whole valley, the whole state of Utah. And, the state here already has had a couple of unicorns. It has 6 living unicorns at this point in time. And last night I was, hearing one of the speakers, Ryan, talk about, well, maybe we'll reach a company of a $10 billion size. Well, in little Waterloo, Canada, we had one company called BlackBerry that went from nothing to $100 billion. And let me tell you, the sucking sound of that company for talent from across Canada, the US, was absolutely unbelievable. The same thing can happen here. And this is essentially our goal at the Lassonde Institute and the studios, is to permit, if you want, the rise of such a unicorn that will become a defining moment, I think, in the life of the ecosystem in the state. And I think we're going to get there. I think that over the next few years, we will definitely get there. If you look at no, Troy, could you go back a little bit? Yeah. If you look at the university startup efficiency, it's really interesting, because look at where the U is compared to, like maybe the 15 best universities in the United States. We punch way, way above our weight. Way above our weight. And this is because of the program. And if you look at the top 20 U.S. technology transfer program, again, the university, we're right up there with Stanford University on a budget, on a research budget of like $400 million. That is absolutely incredible. It just says, give me more money. We can do better. And if you look at the University of Utah revenue from startup, you can clearly see the impact of the Lassonde Institute. Look at 2001, 2002, and then 2003, 4, 5, and then the last 10 years. On average, more than 80% of the revenue is coming from startup, coming from the university. So clearly, the commercialization program, the Institute, have done an incredible job of creating companies, creating jobs, creating employment, creating a social cohesion that is absolutely outstanding in the state of Utah. Now, one of the, if you look at the university itself, yes, the university is, in terms of the U.S. context, is, I would say, right in the middle of the pack. 32,000 students. It's not 50 or 60,000. 470 million of research globally. 95 graduate degree program, 76 patents issued every year. But when you look at the results, again, you can see how much we punch above our weight. And that is, because of the program that we've put together. And I'm so proud of that. I think that when you look at, people think that starting companies is the easy thing. One of the things I've learned over the years is Mother Nature has given the same odds to all businesses. And I use two businesses to give you a bit of an example. The movie business. How many movies do you think are made in Hollywood every year? Any numbers? 100? You can go far more. The answer is 8,000. Okay? How many of those movies ever make 100 million? Every year. 1 in 1,000. It's the same in the diamond business. There's 8,000, diamond pipe. Of that, only about 80 have ever produced. How many are in production today? 8. Diamonds are, by the way, really rare. But it's the same in the high-tech business. It's the same in the mining business. It's the same in the biological, but it's across the board. The odds Mother Nature has given are exactly the same. The 1 in 1,000. So is it hard to commercialize? Yes, it is. When we give some numbers here at the end of the day, license, to revenue, how many can do more than $1 million a year? 1%. 1%. And that's really, really, really good. So to look at the success that we've achieved, I got to tell you, it's because of people. It's because of people like Troy. It's because of people like Taylor and all the professors that we have at the university. But it's also because of the students that we get. It's important to get the very best student, to get them here from all across the United States and then keep them here. And keep them here, because if you want to develop a unicorn, if you want to have a company that's going to have 50, 100 billion in market cap, they need the best brains in the United States. You can't let them go to San Francisco. You can't let them go back to New York. You got to keep them here. And this is not easy, because it's still, Utah is still only 3 million people. And so, it is a proposition that you really have to think about. Now, the great thing about Utah is the Atlantic magazine in October 2013, there was an article on ghost town versus boom town and what made, the boom town. And at the end of the day, it had to do with what's your percentage of adults college graduate? What's the proportion of professional, technical, and creative jobs, people? And what is your proportion of investment capital available here? And one of the factors that they don't talk about, but that I will add, is good governance. That is absolutely essential. Having a stable, fair, and open democracy that rests on an impartial justice system is utmost in the mind of investor. Utah has been a fast-growing area, not for nothing. And, Natalie earlier gave you all the statistics. This is from DICE, and, you can see that in the last 6 months, Utah, of all the cities in the United States, has had the fastest-growing, area. It's all good. It's terrific. And we can do more. We can do better. I will just now, give you very briefly my... someone says, well, in my speech when I got my honorary doctorate, I gave the Lassonde 10 rules of life. And they said, well, do you have your 10 business principles? So I kind of threw this slide together. And, but they do represent all the things that we stand for at Franco-Nevada. But, you've heard me say the first one, when you don't know what you're doing, do it short term, do it small. The second one, it's all about people. Surround yourself with great people. The 80-20 rule really, really exists. 80% of the results that you get comes from 20% of your assets. So play from your strength. When you look at yourself personally, what is your 80-20? And play on that. Don't try to play on your weaknesses. It doesn't work. Only 1 in 10,000 companies succeed. You know what? never give up. Never give up. You have to think that your company will be the one that will succeed. Next one is one that I really like. My partner used to say that all the time. Often wrong, but never in doubt. You know, and what we really mean by that is opportunity rarely waits. So grab it while it's there. And it goes with the next one, hire fast and fire faster. I mean, you know, what we mean by that is recognize your mistakes early and deal with it. If you've made a mistake, just don't live with it. Deal with it, okay? And that will give you a better chance of going further. Trust but verify, especially when you have foreign partners. You know, like you trust but verify. There's more in one head there's more in two head than one. Well, find a partner. I've found that over the years, having a partner, you know, when you're alone at the top, it's really hard. Having a partner to be able to throw ideas, someone who can say, like, Lassonde, you're full of BS, it's important. And I found that very important. And the ninth one, luck. I've always defined luck as preparation, meeting, opportunity. And your job is to organize that meeting. Now, the preparation is what Malcolm Gladwell calls in his book, Outliers, your 10,000 hours. You need 10,000 hours of preparation to become world-class at anything. If you want to be good, you do your 10,000 hours. And then look for opportunity. But don't let opportunity go by. Open that door. Carpe diem. And then finally, when you start a business, you know, you think global, because at the end of the day, that's where you want to be, but start local. Make sure that your business is viable at the local level. And so these are just a few random thoughts on the business. Now, I can't really leave the stage without talking about gold, okay? And I have one slide that essentially says it all. Okay, you don't have to look anywhere else. That slide will give you exactly my thought on gold. It's a slide that I put together when I was writing my 1999 Franco-Nevada annual report. What that slide represents is the Dow Jones Industrial Average divided by the gold price. So if you think about it, it's really the ratio of financial assets vis-a-vis hard asset over time. That slide goes for a period of 116 years. 116 years. There's a few lessons to be learned over 116 years. And the lesson that you can learn clearly is that there are times where you're much better off in financial assets than in hard assets. You look at 1979, 80 to 2000. You look at 1944, 45 to 1967. And at the time I was writing the report, the ratio was 42 to 1. So the way I express it to our shareholders, it took 42 ounces of gold to buy 1 unit of the Dow. And I said, you know what? At 42 to 1, wouldn't you rather own an ounce of gold at $250 than the Dow at 10,000? 42 to 1. Because at the top of the hard cycle, the hard asset cycle, that ratio goes to 1 to 1. 1 to 1. In 1980, gold was 800, the Dow was 800. In 1934, the Dow was 36, gold was 35. 1 to 1. You know where the Dow is today? 17,500. So how excited can we get? Very excited. I think we've rolled over, and if you look at the bull market in hard asset, you know, compare this one with the last one, it's uncanny. The last one we had, you know, from 1967 to 1974, you know, the bull market. Then we had a 2-year correction, and then it rolled over and it went to 1 to 1. And look where we are today. From 42 to 1 ratio, it went to 6.4, back up to 16.4, and it's just rolling over right now. And I think we're on the next leg, the final leg of this great bull market in gold. And that, I think, will be also very good for the state of Utah, Governor. I really think so. So let me conclude here with a few things. Is that, when you look at Utah, the state of Utah and its citizens are in a very enviable position. The growth of the economy rests on an ever-expanding ecosystem developed by the research that is going on at the universities in the state of Utah, the innovators, the funders, the entrepreneurs. And this virtuous circle is nourished by a state government that understands the value of stability of the political institution, as well as the fairness in sharing the rewards of success. So, at the end of the day, it's very simple. Utah is simply a great place to live, to work, and to invest. Thank you so much.